What's the good word, y'all? DKB here, and we are discussing today why I believe our cornerback position is the most important unit for us to have some level of continued success moving forward. And this is just based off kind of what I'm seeing on tape, some of the breakdowns that I'm reviewing, the statistical outputs that you can see, and then personally just my own philosophy. I think it gives you a lot more flexibility and ability to evolve your defense to have cornerbacks that are elite as opposed to defensive linemen, because it just feels like there's easier ways for you to nullify them. You can operate an extremely efficient short passing offense. You can throw on a lot of screens. You can end up going completely into a run defense mode, essentially. And if you have guys that aren't built for that, that can wreck entire game plans. And so it's up in the air. I don't want that to be kind of the main focus, but just so you guys know kind of where I'm coming from. When it comes to defenses, I definitely would prefer to build outside in. It's also more fun. Can you imagine having a Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, and a Michael Carter II, and then you can throw in a bunch of monsters athletically that maybe need that time to develop and be groomed? But on the defensive line, so a Trayvon Walker and, in a fantasy world anyways, a Trayvon Walker and Kayvon Thibodeau and Jermaine Johnson II and all these kind of different guys. So that's just kind of my thoughts with it. And when we think about it now, the cornerback group that we currently have, this trio looks like they can be up there with some of the greats. And I'm not talking about our defense as a whole, although we definitely look excellent right now. But I mean, literally, as a as a unit, these top three guys for us look like they can go the distance. And hopefully this continues to be excellent performances that get tuned in. But I mean, you got to take a look at the list of guys that they've essentially been covering. I mean, Rashad Bateman, Amari Cooper, Jamar Chase, Deontay Johnson, Tyreek Hill, Romeo Doubs, Cortland Sutton, Devin Duvernay, Amari Cooper, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, Jalen Wallow, Alan Lazard, KJ Hamler. The list goes on and on. We just dealt with Jacoby Myers. I mean, there weren't huge threats on the Patriots team, but there's not a single name that sticks out on that list where you can say they had a phenomenal game against this team. And that is the whole purpose of this conversation, is because this has literally changed our defense. And it goes hand in hand. There's a lot of synchronicity. I want to say that's the word, that occurs in defenses depending on how you build them. But, the one that obviously goes hand in hand is pass rush and coverage. It's very weird when you see that you can have a stacked defensive line position, and even with decent coverage, you can see days where statistically they're just not hitting home and killing it. The Patriots defense looked excellent, for example, but they only came away with 2 sacks. However, they still had a win, so it depends on how you want to kind of qualify things and all that. The New York Jets defense had 6 sacks, but we also had amazing coverage. A lot of that was coverage sacks and different things that we were doing in the middle parts of the field. But irregardless, I mean, this cornerback unit has been absolutely phenomenal. They've been crushing it for some time now. And the emergence of Michael Carter II kind of hitting his stride. And it really honestly feels like he's actually taking his game to that next level. And when you kind of think back about it, he had a very strong rookie season as well. He just kind of truly hit that rookie wall. He's a smaller stature guy anyways. He's not adjusted to playing 17 games in the season. And you've seen his run tackling performance dip. And you also seen his coverage traits, his coverage stats start to dip a little bit. But he has been extremely strong so far. So, I think putting the film on and taking a look at that, you automatically come away impressed with all 3 of these guys. But when we take a look at it so far, through 8 weeks, 72 cornerbacks have played at least 150 snaps, which isn't crazy, but is significant enough to let you know how important these stats are so far for some of these guys. And we're talking about some of the main ones that impact these games. So DJ Reed, at least according to PFF, 7th highest graded defender, 79.3. Sauce Gardner is 4th at 83.9. Michael Carter II is 15th at 76.7. And Michael Carter, being the quote-unquote worst of the trio, he's effectively one of the top 3 slot cornerbacks in the NFL right now, I would argue. I mean, what he's been able to do in keep in mind, being a slot cornerback is an extremely ridiculous job. I think it's much harder than anything a boundary cornerback has to do because you can play a lot of wide receivers um, out of that particular play. If you're doing some of your technical pieces correctly, you can run them out of bounds. You can completely stall a guy if you have strong press coverage skills, etc. Whereas you have a guy in the slot, your slot wide receiver already kind of gets a running head start against you, depending on what they want to do and operate. You have guys that can be extremely huge. You can have these small, shiftier guys. There's a lot of there's a lot of variables that comes with being a slot cornerback, let alone the communication has to be that much more on par because you're working with not only the defensive line to a certain degree, but your linebackers, your safeties, and your cornerbacks. You can argue that with every position, but with the slot cornerback, it's definitely that much more pivotal. And so when we continue to take a look at these, DJ Reed's gotten an interception, Sauce Gardner's grabbed himself one. Michael Carter II should actually have 3 if we didn't have this most recent one in the Patriots game nullified. But he has 2 on the season. Our cornerbacks as a whole, everybody has been able to grab one. That's been able to get significant enough playing time. I know Bryce Hall will be the one that kind of sticks out there. But I mean, we're not only just elite at the top, we're strong throughout. I think there's a lot of, I would say all 31 teams would love to say they have Bryce Hall as their 5th cornerback in the depth chart. Brandon Echols looks like he can be another strong player as he continues to get seasoned. We've seen his recovery speed. We've seen him be able to go out there and lock down. And he was one of the biggest playmakers for us in his rookie season. So extremely impressed with all of them. DJ Reed's been able to force a fumble. He has 6 pass breakups. Sauce Gardner is the only cornerback in the NFL that's at least hit double digits so far in pass breakups. He currently has 12. Michael Carter II has 4. And all of these cornerbacks have been able to keep quarterbacks under a 65% passer rating, which is absolutely ridiculous. Normally, there's got to be at least one weak link. And for us, it's more so our linebacker unit. Even the safeties have improved their play quite a bit. So, you know, the fall off that I would expect if maybe something happens in terms of injuries or if there's just a dip in play for whatever reason is going to be extremely noticeable. Our defensive line can't always hit home. We've been doing more four-man rushes as opposed to blitzes and different things like that in recent memory with that success. That can come back to bite us if we're not absolutely, you know, ripping heads off on the offensive line and getting to these quarterbacks. So to me, this is going to be the most important unit. Yes, when we talk about offensively, that's a whole nother conversation to me. Zach Wilson's going to be a huge element of it. The running game, obviously, you know, there's a lot of things that you can pick apart there. But to me, this defense's bones is built on the back of this cornerback room right now. And we're seeing a strong, you know, accentuation of the defensive line and the cornerback group as a whole, and seeing that success and that marriage of all the talents there really blossom. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. How critical is the cornerback group to you in terms of our defensive success so far? And, you know, would you argue a different position, you know, whether that be defensive line, safety, the linebackers, etc. But I'm looking forward to your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys again. Peace.